Well, hey everybody, welcome back. It has been a very long time, I think 8 or 9 months since I posted an update, so I'm just standing here at the workbench. This is the scene that's right above it. Got a couple trains on the tracks over here because they're out of the way from all the activity that's been going on. So if I pan to the right, you've seen all that before. But what I've been doing is painting and ballasting those tracks in the back, and I reworked some of these turnouts in here where you can see the ballast is still a little bit wet. Some of them the springs broke off, and some of them the Caboose Industries ground throws weren't working the way I wanted, so I've been in here kind of reinstalling those. I'm going to make that disappear, but it's actually sitting on a couple small pieces of cork so that it's nice and sturdy, and then I'm ballasting over top of the cork to kind of hide it. So that's what they'll hopefully all eventually look like. So I did all these on double crossover and some back on the Industries. So if I keep panning this way, you'll notice back on the industrial track starting here, that's got ballast on it now. So that's what I've been up to. I've been painting track, ballasting track, keep working my way left to right, kind of pan that way. The whole back is done, and then starting here on the main, which is this track here, going that way from here, that's all new ballast as well. So as I look that way, the back tracks are all ballasted. There's something new in the corner y'all haven't seen before. So let's go over there and check that out. I do have the power plant tracks in. It's got this little runaround in it so that loaded hoppers can be parked on one and empties can be pulled. The track flows right into that building. That was a Magnuson Models kit, their power plant. It was resin. I think I talked about it in the last video. At one point I was thinking about, doing a kit bash with it or monkeying with it in some way. I decided to pretty much build it straight per the plans, realizing it would fit back there nicely. So pretty happy with how that one came out. Gonna take a look at that. Pretty much used everything right out of the kit. I did have to scratch build a couple of the windows on the front there because they were missing. But yeah, so the power plant is now in along with all the tracks. Those are all wired up. Base scenery is starting to go in along with some ballast in the back here. So again, the lighter color is the main coming around. And that runs all the way over and connects to the old creek scene. I'm gonna cut right there, take a couple of steps so I don't make y'all sick, and pick up from there. Okay, so this has been seen many times. This was upstairs. This whole section got moved down. So the main runs across here. And this is where the track stops. But more progress is here. This section is now at the correct height. And I'm starting to build some of the scenery base there. I've got this area lit. So I'm just using track lights. I've got a couple of lights. And what this is right here, this is a little scratch build project. A friend of mine has the Fine Scale Miniatures I Am Dunn kit. It's a coal dealer. It's got some interesting structures. It actually builds like a diorama. So I've been scratch building this, including the walls. Everything you see here is completely scratch built. And what's nice about it is this comes off. We just cut this right out of the plywood base of the layout. This is nice birch plywood. So I can take this over to the bench and work on it, and also kind of have it in here so I can see how it's all going to fit together. So the turnout over here coming towards us, that's what used to go to Manchester. Well, that's now going to be the spur coming into the fuel dealer, which the track will go across the trestle bends there. And the main will be behind it on this elevated section. So that'll come across here. Obviously we'll have backdrop someday. The main will come across there. This will all get lit eventually. The backdrop will come and connect here. Behind the backdrop, this is all new. I think I'd built this benchwork before, but hadn't put the top on it yet. So the staging actually starts right about here and comes off behind and goes behind Manchester, which is over there. So that's the old original module I had. It's still not powered up, but at least it's mounted now. And this is where Manchester's going to be extended, and I'll have some new stuff here, more activities, and I'll have a new turnout coming off into Manchester somewhere in this area to the right of the coal company there. And again, staging will go around back like it always did. It's just bigger than it used to be. So that's kind of the progress. Let's go look at the power plant a little bit more since that's new. All right, so like I say, this was a resin kit. Painted it kind of the way Jason Jensen shows on his channel. They used spackle for the mortar. Did some on the roof, some seams and like patches and whatnot. That was a little bit of dark gray and black paint mixed with really watered down spackle, and then I just brushed it on into a couple places to make some patches up on the roof. You can see some on there. Did the same thing around the vents, and just sort of made it appear as if the buildings had some wear and tear over the years. Probably needs some more weathering. It is a power plant. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It looks good. It's kind of, in the back of the layout, kind of behind the yard, behind the main. Should have some real fun, switching activity, bringing all those loads of hoppers in and empty hoppers out. So that was a pretty fun project. Kind of give you a view of what the whole thing looks like. It literally is shoved all the way back against the backdrop. Got the guy wires on the smokestacks on the back. The roof was made out of the sandpaper that came in the kit. You cut it into strips and glued it on, painted it separately so that I got some slightly different colors, glued it on, and then it was dry brushed with a buff color. This part is just flat. I just used one solid piece of the sandpaper. The roof is made out of cardboard. It's braced up with some wood. Most all that came in the kit, so I didn't do a whole lot of fancy stuff there. So pretty happy with how that turned out. Wanted to get that done. I think I talked about it in the last video ages ago, so that I could figure out how these back tracks were going to go in, and now I can figure out scenery and how I want to tie this all together. Tracks are in, they're all wired, connected, live, being ballasted and painted. So let's go look at I Am Dunn a little bit. I'll show you that some more too. All right, like I said, I've generally been working on this over on the workbench. I just stuck it in here so we could see how it's all going to look, but kind of came up with something kind of neat on the retaining walls I wanted to talk about. That's the business side of it. The back side, they're all basically the same thing. It's just, I think it was eighth inch thick or quarter-inch thick basswood. And what I did was those lines, because the kit comes with basswood that's got etch marks in it, I guess, or like the edges of where a form would have been built for poured concrete. And obviously, I don't have a lathe or anything. I can't do that. So what I instead did was I made these lines out of spackle. So I put basically above and below each of those lines, I had a piece of masking tape, and I put them really close together. And then I just laid with a metal knife, like a metal artist knife, I just laid spackle right across it. That's how I got all the vertical lines. I think I had to do every other, and then because the tape was too wide, and then come back and do it a second time to fill in the ones between. And then at the same thing, I got some vertical pieces in there too. So it's as if it was made out of boards laid side by side and poured into place. And then I just weathered it. I used chalk paint, different washes, some powders and stuff for some of the rust and stains. And I like how that turned out. Everything else, it's all just strip wood, cut to fit. I've got the plans, so I'm just following the plans. I think there's 4 main pages of plans, lettered A through D. So what you see here, this is A, all done, and I'm just into B a little bit. A couple other things I did differently than he calls for in the plans is he does this road out of plaster, and that's done after that's a foundation for a building, that's a foundation for a building. Up here in the front is a foundation for a building, and that's the weigh scale for trucks full of coal to come off. And I guess that's how they were charged. How much does your truck weigh coming off with all the coal in the back? But anyway, all these things are made out of just individual pieces of strip wood, and pouring plaster all around that just seemed like a bad idea. So my concrete is actually made out of slices of foam, and I've shown that before. It's in the area kind of between the Big John's warehouse and some of the rip track structures. That was probably 2 or 3 years ago, but borrowed a friend's Proxon and cut these little strips of foam. I painted them individually and then glued them into place, and then, you know, put a little sill floor type stuff in some of the cracks. I'll do more of that, but just to get a feel for it. So that was plaster. In the plan, I used foam. He also used paper mache to do this hill in the front, and mine is pink foam carved down, and then a little bit of homemade Sculptamold just put over the top. So that's where we're at with it. This has been a really fun project. Doesn't look like much yet, but there's actually kind of a lot of hours in here and many more to go, but pretty fun project, and the kind of thing I hope you know, to someday use as a scratch built structure for a you know, a structures AP or something, if I ever get my stuff together and go for that route and towards the MMR and all that kind of stuff with the NMRA. So in any event, even if I don't do all that, this is a pretty fun project, and it's the kind of thing, kind of where I've wanted to be for a long time, is to have something like this going on the workbench, and then be doing, you know, work on the layout itself at the same time, and kind of go back and forth to keep things fresh. So that is where we are. Kind of walking this way to show you where I did the concrete out of the foam before, was this whole area back here. So I showed that in much more detail in the past. But yeah, that's where we are. Kind of humming along. Sorry I haven't posted anything in so long. I have been working on things out here. You know, professional work has gotten busier, and, you know, there's been some return to office mandates and stuff. So, you know, you throw in the commute time in a week, and that's a significant amount of free time I no longer have. So I don't get to do quite as much out here as I used to. Also, of course, with you know, pandemic restrictions lifting and things going back to normal, the kids' activities have really picked up. So a lot of chauffeuring kids to sporting events and doing all the things, all the family stuff, which is great. So I get out here when I can, and I knew I hadn't updated y'all in a while, and wanted to throw an update out, let y'all know I was still, a couple people were asking, are you even in the hobby anymore, man? And I thought, yeah, I am. So this is what we've been doing. Hope this video finds everybody doing well. Thanks for watching, and y'all be kind to each other out there.